which forms scientific investigation. Actually, do you know why I made this distinction between methodology, method, and technique? Because this is given in anthropology syllabus, not in sociology syllabus. So I thought since anthropology made it very clear, methodology and method, so I should cover. And that question came in sociology. Phenomenology also is there in anthropology. The question came in sociology. Let me tell you, whatever is considered difficult in anthropology comes from sociology. Whatever is considered difficult in sociology comes from anthropology, and the reverse, like that. So, methodology is a system of rules, principles, and procedures which form scientific investigation. Tell me, Deepika, what is an example of methodology?
So it is the approach you take to solve an issue or find out some.
Okay.
So you can use.
Can we say functionalism is a methodology?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's it. Functionalism is a methodology. Structural functionalism is a methodology. Okay. Conflict approach is a methodology. Evolutionism is a methodology. Diffusionism is a methodology. Postmodernism is a methodology. Interpretative approach is a methodology. So methodology is nothing but schools of thought that we discuss. Okay. Within the methodology, some methods come, and within the methods, techniques come. For example, when you are interviewing, don't speak too fast. Tell me, what is it? Technique, method, or methodology?
Techniques.
Exactly, technique. But interviewing, what is that?
Method.
Interviewing. Nikhil?
So I guess method.
Method, exactly. Interview is a method. Don't speak too fast is a technique. Okay. But what is the place of interview in your theory? That is methodology. What are you going to, why are you interviewing, and what are you going to do with your interview data? What do you want to find out? What is your mode of investigation? Is methodology. Methodology is related to theoretical framework. Okay. So what we consider as a school of thought, evolutionism, diffusionism, functionalism, structural functionalism, conflict theory, okay, Marxism, interpretative approach, postmodernism, all of them are methodologies. In fact, I got clarity about this methodology method from Harlambo's book. Methodology is a theoretical orientation. Okay, so methodology is a broad thing, method next, and technique small, lowest unit. Interview technique, questionnaire technique. Questionnaire is a method, interview is a method. Case study is a method. Sampling is a method. So in fact, what we discussed here are mostly our methods. Survey is a method. But how you want to organize this data? So what is the theory behind this is methodology. So from methodology, methods come, from methods to techniques come. Okay. You want to study depression through study one individual in detail. Can you tell me what is the method?
Case study.
Case study method. Okay. Tell me what is it quantitative or qualitative?
Qualitative.
Qualitative. And quantitative and qualitative also are matters of methodology. Quantitative is a methodology. Qualitative is a methodology. Because to be quantitative, you need to think that data, you should have more data, and you know what to gather, things like that. But in a qualitative, you may not know what to gather. You'll have to pay attention to a particular case. Okay, that can be qualitative and different methodology. So methodology, theoretical orientation are interlinked, whereas method is a smaller thing and technique is much smaller. So methodology is a system of rules, principles, and procedures which focus on scientific investigation. Can you tell me, can you try to find out what is wrong with this question?
Scientific investigation word?
Scientific investigation, comment. What may be wrong with this question? Here examiner thinks that everything is scientific. It is not necessary. There are certain methodologies which claim non-scientific. That's why you can classify theoretical orientations or methodologies into two, positivist and non-positivist. Positivist is scientific. Non-positivist doesn't believe that methods of science are applicable in the study of society. So positivism and non-positivism. So non-positivism may not believe in so-called scientific investigation, and non-positivism is also a methodology. And of what you have done so far, you can include interpretative approach as an example of non-positivism. Interpretative approach. I'll send a note for Socio students also. Interpretative approach of Geertz, where he observed cockfight and tried to interpret social structure through the study of cockfight. Who are participants in betting? What are their emotions? Okay, how are village factions represented? What is man's role, woman's role? What is the source of prestige? Trying to study society through cockfight. That is interpretative approach. Okay. How is interpretative approach, non-positivist approach? The difference between positivism and non-positivism is positivism believes use of science to arrive at certain conclusions, certain generalizations, certain laws. T is equal to 2 pi root L by G is a generalization, is a law through experimentation process. Whereas some people think that you need not arrive at the laws. It is enough if you interpret. Okay, here I'll tell you something about Max Weber. Max Weber. To Max Weber, one can trace interpretative approach. Interpretative. Also non-positivist to Max Weber. Because Weber is the one who said that you don't have to emulate methods of natural sciences to explore society. Okay. And you need not arrive at laws. Laws, no. Scientific methods, no. This is non-positivism. Laws not necessary, scientific methods not necessary. That is non-positivism. Okay. What Weber said was, there is something that social scientists has an advantage in. For example, in this t is equal to 2 square root L by G, scientist is conducting this experiment. Scientist is conducting the experiment. Scientist is separated from the experiment. Separated. Separation. Okay. So you can say the scientist is the observer. And this is observed. Observer and the observed. Or you can say subject and object. So what is objectivity here? Scientist is scientifically, objectively observing something, experiment, that will finally lead to t is equal to 2 pi root L by G, simple pendulum experiment. So here, subject is separated from object. Experimenter is separated from experiment. Observer is separated from observed. No emotions, no feelings, okay? No prejudices. He doesn't have any bias against the pendulum or rope or anything. So scientific method is this separation between the observer and the observed, no bias, objectivity, and making a generalization through experimentation. So most people felt that one should study society also like that, as an observer, detached, separated. Okay. Whereas Weber said that you need not detach yourself. In fact, you look within. You look within. By looking within, you will understand what you are observing. For example, why are these people taking part in a riot? You feel their feelings. What is failure? What is success? Why are they voting for this person? Why is he depressed? A social scientist can feel, look within, and then understand this. Weber said this is method of Verstehen, German word. Okay. It means placing yourself in others' shoe and then feeling, which a physicist cannot do. And then feeling this, you interpret. Interpret. And Weber said sociology is about interpretative understanding of social action. Social action is individual action in the context of the society. Individual action in relationship. Social action. So sociology to Weber is an interpretative understanding of social action. This is not to find out the laws of society. This is what Geertz also followed. Geertz, interpretative approach. So interpretative approach means finding out the meaning, finding out the meaning, feeling that, yes, I understood. It is not about loss. It is not about objective observation. It is about feeling what others are feeling, making sense. And this is not called scientific investigation. This is called a non-scientific investigation. Non-scientific doesn't mean unscientific. This is simply non-scientific. It is not unscientific. Okay. So interpretative approach is a non-positivist approach. It is also a methodology. And another methodology is postmodernism. We will discuss in the next class. Okay. But otherwise, this is a non-positivism, and this is qualitative approach, case study approach. Geertz did case study, qualitative, interpretative, okay, not going by survey method. So this is how methodologies give rise to certain methods, principles, assumptions, a particular way of analyzing social phenomena, a particular way of observing, recording facts. Is it clear?
Sir,
On the other hand, if somebody believes that one should find out suicide rate, like Durkheim, then questionnaire, get the data and get the rates. What factors contribute to suicide rate? Use a questionnaire method. Or who is likely to get elected? Use a questionnaire method. That is what is called a social survey. Through social survey, one wants to find out social phenomena through quantitative approach. So you go for positivism, non-positivism, or survey method, interpretative method, and then say, what is the theoretical orientation? And based on that theoretical orientation, how methods and techniques are arrived at. That's all. Gayatri?
Sir, even comparative method and analysis of survival also is not scientific.
Which one?
Comparative method and evolutions.
No, see, just 1 second. You did not get the data properly. Okay. You did not interview properly. That is a part of scientific investigation, but people criticize you are not accurate. But that is scientific investigation only. Whereas interpretative kind is a different thing. See, you may get your experiment in a lab wrong, which means your particular thing is wrong, but it is not that is not, you are not following the scientific method. You are trying to follow the scientific method. It is in that sense. You have not followed scientific method properly, which means that somebody is trying to follow scientific method and somebody is saying that you are not following scientific method, but it is within the scientific investigation. Is it clear? Because those who wanted to follow comparative method wanted to arrive at the laws of society. This is how society evolves, like that. Okay. So whether they are trying to be scientific or not is an issue. They're trying to be scientific, but the data is not accurate enough, or data is not enough. But Geertz is not trying to be scientific. Geertz is trying to be interpretative. So that's how positivism and non-positivism are different. So is it clear? And let me tell you,
Yes.
whatever be the questions on methods, techniques, you link them to theory. That is how you get depth in your answer. Is it clear?
Sir, when you said Geertz was trying to find out the meaning, sorry, Yes, sir. The meaning. So, what does it mean? Does it mean is reasoning
Okay.
or
Meaning means what do participants think of it? For example, a person is committing suicide. What is his meaning of suicide? It is not just the fact that he is committing suicide, but why is he doing it? Somebody may be doing it as a form of sacrifice. Somebody may be doing it for revenge. Somebody to avenge for justice. So 9/11 is a suicide, but then that is to bring justice. A love failure leads to suicide, but that is not to bring justice. Maybe that is to take revenge or hurt oneself, whatever. So trying to find the meaning is different from trying to find the suicide rate. It's like that.
sir is trying to find the reason for say that particular suicide? Is it same as trying to find the meaning?
Meaning means meaning to the person who is doing it. Whereas reason means reason is not to the person. Reason is to the analyst. So reason is about objectivity. Meaning is about subjectivity. Is it clear? So what does he think is what you are thinking? That is about exploration of subjectivity. Okay, so whether you want to arrive at laws or you want to discover meaning are two different approaches. So some said what is important in the study of social sciences is not the laws, but to get the meaning. Is it clear? So that's how interpretative approach and non-positivism are different. So interpretative approach may go for case study, in-depth study, interpretation, okay, things like that, rather than quantitative. Okay, so broadly they can be classified into positivism and non-positivism. Under non-positivism include interpretative and postmodernism, and we will do postmodernism in the next class. Postmodernism, phenomenology, same. Tell me, is this point clear to you? Methodology, method, and technique. Okay. So that lesson has so many facts and I want you to memorize them. Okay. Now take one more 2020 question. Take this. Analyze the strengths and weaknesses of social survey method in social research. Take time, work out an outline, try to make it as comprehensive as possible. Let me tell you, this is an easy question. They will never say that is a difficult question, but then people may find it difficult to write because they think, what is there to write? In a social survey, after all, you do survey and then get the result. What is this strength, weaknesses? Okay, so you try to find out how to give a qualitatively better answer. Strength and weaknesses of social survey method in social research. What is social survey? Example, what is that used for? Under what methodology it comes? And what are the various methods and techniques? What are the assumptions made in this? Okay, take an example of survey and how do you go about it? Do it with examples. Do it with examples. Vishal, you want to answer? Work out an outline first. Which survey you want to conduct and how do you want to go about it? Tell me, what are all the methods that you use in conducting social survey? You can just list the techniques or methods.
So we should first, we should give an example of what kind of survey we want to do first, and then explain.
Survey for what?
So in your book, you have given example of understanding attitude and stereotypes associated with Muslims.
Prejudices.
Prejudices.
Can be
And all
survey on
this can be
prejudice.
used.
It can be survey on intercaste marriage.
Anything. And
Be
all the methods you have
secularization.
mentioned.
It can be a survey.
Whatever the phenomena you want, attitude towards gender, sexual harassment.
Every method you mentioned in the book can be used in the limitation.
Exactly. Exactly. It's all about tuning. Okay. So prejudice. So take prejudice, or do you want to take sexual harassment, whatever. So which methods will you use?
Questionnaire, interview method.
Exactly. Questionnaire method and interview method.
Well, like, can surveys be qualitative also? Like, mostly surveys are quantitative.
Surveys are not qualitative. Surveys invariably are quantitative.
Yes.
Because survey gets the data and the data has to be analyzed statistically. That's what survey is. Survey
So we can
is
do also.
questionnaires and interviews. What is the difference between interview schedule and a questionnaire and interview?
So questionnaires are more like they are objective in nature, where objective in the sense that the one who asks already decides what has to be asked. It is not open-ended.
Interview schedule?
Interviews also are open-ended as well as close-ended. But so
No, what is an interview schedule?
Respondent has to like is open to like interpret and open to answer the questions.
No. Vishal, interview schedule.
Me, sir.
The
questionnaire is self-administered. Basically, the respondent.
Interview schedule is orally asked.
Orally, yes.
So, Nikhil, you have to memorize.
Yes.
So many technical words are used in this book. Interview schedule is simply like questionnaire, but orally asked. Okay. Interview. And in interview, what kind of questions are possible? Closed-ended?
Open-ended, closed-ended.
Open-ended. And interviewer and respondent. So in-depth interviews. See, so many words are used in this. So you have to memorize questionnaire, interview, interview schedule, in-depth interview, closed, open. Okay. Now tell me, what is meant by operational definition? Which means you want to measure prejudice. So the question is, how do you measure? Which do you consider as prejudice? So that is an issue. Because you can't ask, do you have prejudice? he will say, no, I don't have any prejudice because my views are very, very scientific, he will say. So what do you consider as prejudice? What do you consider? So what answer he should give for you to say this is the degree of prejudice? Or you can take up another concept called secularization. For example, in the context of secularization, we discussed role of religion in society less, but in what dimension? Is it in belief system, or is it in attitude, or going to temple, or hatred towards others, or importance to the scripture? So when do you say secularization took place? Issues such as that are issues related to operational definition. Okay, so finally you are going to say responses to these questions will indicate this. Okay, so we'll indicate this is the response, this is what we are going to measure. So that is what is called operational definition. So it is in that you can measure hatred or prejudice or whatever the variable that you want to measure. Okay, and all this comes under survey method. It can be interview, it can be questionnaire, listing of questions, and then survey on these things, with prejudice, sexual attitudes, okay, opinion polls, exit polls, survey. Okay, and survey may involve sampling. What kind of sampling? We'll discuss sampling also. Okay, so social survey method is what all we have, is so much of what is covered in this: questionnaire, interview, sampling, operational definition. Okay, and of course, in certain cases, it can be genealogy also. Okay.
And we can use observation and participant to quote the disadvantages of.
But first, let us see what is the survey method first. Okay, so this is what the survey method is. Okay, can you tell me what is not a survey method? Okay, anyway, so what do you think is the essence of survey method? Come to methodology part. What is the essence of survey method? What are the
Data
assumptions
collection
made
and
in survey method?
that the participants will be giving right response.
Exactly. Please note that the participants will be giving right responses is an assumption. Next, what is the assumption?
The uniformity
We
throughout.
know about
You know the questions is another assumption. For example, you may not be asking relevant questions. Okay. For example, I mean, I gave one, we covered transgender. You want to study transgender. How will you study? What kind of questions will you ask? Okay. So, how relevant your questions will be assumes certain kind of prior understanding, certain cases, certain issues. And it also assumes that they give right answers. And then they are quantifiable. They can be analyzed, statistical methods, operational definitions possible. And you can arrive at certain conclusions. All of them need not be true. When you think that you may not know the questions to begin with, then survey method is not relevant. And when you think that they won't give the right kind of answers, the right answers, then survey method is not applicable. Is participant observation survey method? Definitely not. Life history? No. In-depth interview? No. Case study? No. So, survey method assumes these things, and these assumptions are made by certain kind of thinking of positivism. Know the questions, arrive at certain laws, generalizations. Okay. For everything, you include other thinkers like interpretative, postmodern, how these things may not be relevant. And then how participant observation is important in certain cases. Case study is important. Okay, life history is important. Okay, so that's what it is. You almost write everything about schools and link the schools to methods. People try to read methods exclusively and write as much as possible. That is not the way. Link methods to thinkers, schools, and issues. Okay, link it in a historical sense. Okay, this is how thought evolved. Okay, is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So memorize these definitions and then include. Next, you can take one more question of 2020. Okay. Discuss the importance and sources of hypothesis in social research. Okay. Tell me, what is a hypothesis?
Theory based on very little
Let us look
evidence.
at these words. What is a theory? What is a fact? What is a hypothesis? What is a theory? What is a fact? And what is a hypothesis? Okay. And then we also made the distinction between theoretical orientation and a theory. Let me, this important. Methodology comes from a theoretical orientation. Theoretical orientation is about, which is a general attitude about how a phenomenon are to be explained. Evolutionism is a theoretical orientation. A theory is an explanation of associations. An explanation is an answer to a why of a question. What is an association? Statistical association or a law refers to a correlation between two or more variables. Okay. Now, T is equal to 2, F is equal to MA. Tell me, what are variables in F is equal to MA? What are variables?
M and A.
MA are variables. MA leading to F. Okay. So these are variables. And what is F is equal to MA? It is a law. And you can also, this is a theory. Theory actually, it says, is an explanation of association. Tell me, what do you call an association in this? F is equal to MA? These things are important. We will be closely examining why these distinctions are necessary. So tell me, what is F is equal to MA? Is it a law, of course, that is one way of looking at it. So is it a theory or an association or simply a law, according to the definition that we gave? It is closer to what?
Closer to a law.
Closer to law. Okay, theory is often about why of it. Why of it is a theory, and a way of looking at the whole thing is a theoretical orientation. Why is a theory? So certain associations give rise to theory, and a theoretical orientation will have certain theories. Marriage evolved like this. Shraddha ceremony evolved like this. Capitalism evolved like this. Thinking in terms of evolution is theoretical orientation.
Then it's theory also.
Now, if one is making a subtle distinction, theoretical orientation is a bigger thing, theory is a small thing, and theory consists of certain associations. It is similar to methodology, method, and technique. Marxism is a theoretical orientation. Okay, stratification and heaven and hell, okay, are causally related is an association. But why it may be so? Because it is that the dominant classes may have to devise something after life to control the people here. That is a theory. I think we got a very good example. Repeat this, Gayatri. What is a theoretical orientation and what is a theory and what is an association?
Theoretical orientation is how you explain a phenomena.
Early explanation. How you explain a phenomena. How you explain various phenomena.
Various phenomena. And next is
Theory.
theory is. Sir, I can explain with example, but I'm not getting that.
Why of it?
Why
You
of
know
it?
the why of it. And association is connection
Link
across
between
variables.
variables.
Okay. The theoretical orientation is a broad thing. Theory is less and association is statistical. Okay. So anyway, now tell me, what is a hypothesis?
A theory developed on little details, very few details.
Hypothesis is a proposal that has to be verified. A proposal, a theory that has to be verified. Hypothesis is requires verification.
It contains assumptions also.
Exactly. Assumption, yes. Assumptions. For example, the one who's trying to make t is equal to 2 pi root L by J law, but how he may have thought of it in the first place? What is it that he may have hypothesized?
Certain associations.
Certain association. Certain association is the hypothesis. And then through experimentation, he's trying to find out whether there is such an association, and if there is an association, what is the quantitative relationship? Isn't it? For example, most important reason for student suicide is love failure or exam failure. How do you find out? Or the farmer suicide and loans. So you hypothesize loan is a reason, or water problem. And then through survey, you find out whether it is actually the reason. Okay. So tell me, should one have hypothesis or should one simply observe without hypothesis? What normally is the mode of inquiry?
We should have hypothesis and then where
We should
we
have
discussed this in Franz Boas historical.
exactly.
That
Here you can include historical particularism. Do you need to have hypothesis to observe, or you can observe without any hypothesis? Observation without hypothesis may not be useful. Observation with hypothesis will help. But what is the problem with hypothesis? Sometimes sometimes you may miss the hypothesis. Observation is needed, hypothesis is needed, and questioning is needed. Okay, look at things without hypothesis is needed, hypothesis is needed, and verifying hypothesis is needed. Okay, but finally it has to be verified. It has to be an association, and that association explanation is theory. In explanation, some other association may be called for. In explanation, some other association may be called for. Okay. For example, how does f is equal to gm1 m2 by d square? That is an association. But what is the theory? Theory of gravity. Gravity is a theory. Did anybody see gravity? Nobody saw gravity, right? Nobody saw electricity also. Okay. So theory of gravity is that there is something, force of attraction. It tells you a way of thinking. But what do we know? What do we know is that there is some force between the two. So theory is about thinking. How of it? But how do you know whether to think like that or not? It is definitely through the help of certain associations. You make sense through theory. Okay. You have any questions?
Sir, this F equal to MA is theory also.
F is equal to MA is a law, an association. But why F is equal to MA? You think there is a force, there are matter hit. So you think of why, that is theory.
No, sir, but it answers the why, the action reaction theory.
What is that?
The action reaction theory, it explains very well that every action has equal and opposite.
That's fine. Action reaction is third, right? Third law. Okay, maybe. But this is about some kind of thinking. Maybe this is logical. It's making sense of. Maybe put differently, maybe so-called interpretation is here. A way to think about things. Finally, we are thinking. Anyway, okay, maybe to bring more sense to what we are trying to say. Tell me, you have seen some people who do well, both physics problems. Why do some people do well and some don't?
So for physics, I can try answering.
Okay.
Sir, I think people who relate physics to usual life or normal life,
Hmm.
they do quite well in physics. Like,
Okay. But electromagnetism and they are not the things that they can relate to. Atomic physics, your relationship ends with mechanics.
yes, that's true.
Hmm. Why is it some people have tons and tons of practice, but one small variation in the question they fail? Whereas some people, whatever be the variation, they can sense and answer the problem. Why is it so?
They understand the theory.
Exactly. Exactly. They understand the theory. They visualize, okay, this is what is happening. And they're trying to constantly visualize and change imagination. In fact, that is the difference between Indian book and foreign book. Foreign book enables imagination, makes you understand the theory. In an Indian book, there is no imagination. Tons and tons of questions they will give.
Like there was a book, Rashnik Halliday Walker or something.
Holiday and Resnick is an extraordinary book.
They used to like put diagrams and like relate things.
All kinds of things. Imagination. Holiday and Resnick is like that. So basically, it is about visualization. That's what the theory is. Students who think only F is equal to MA, then they just, they don't, those who don't have visualization, they don't know what is a kg and a gram. They may simply say, instead of kg, they'll say gram and get the wrong figure. And then they'll say, oh, we forgot to convert. And they say we commit silly mistakes. Do you know why they commit silly mistakes? Because lack of imagination. Silly mistake is actually much more serious mistake. Because silly mistake means doing things mechanically. They don't have sense of number. They don't have feel. So theory is about imagination. When f is equal to g m1 m2 by m square, d square, are you imagining two objects? Okay, they're feeling attracted. They want to come, but not able to come for some reason. All those things is theory. An explanation to why. That is theory. Whereas gm1 m2 by d square is the law. What sense you make of is the theory. Which means there is a leap between the law and the theory. And theory may be wrong, though the law is right. You are thinking like that. In fact, we have theories. We have theories about ourselves. We have theories about our friends. So this is what he normally does. We have one idea. But then we only have certain specific actions. Out of that, we have one idea. We use certain concepts to arrive at. So we will look into these things because sometimes it is the same associations and different theories are possible. There are different whys are possible for the same set of laws. Okay, so what is the role of hypothesis in all this? Hypothesis is needed, but has to be verified. And so what is the question?
Discuss the importance of
Of hypothesis in social research. Okay, research. That's it. You handle it through examples, be it suicide rate, prejudice, secularization, whatever you are comfortable with, experiments in education. Okay. So this is how you have to answer. Life history, genealogy, sampling. Okay, let me take one more question.
Sir, the randomized.
Is our method of answering clear to you? We are linking, generalizing, giving examples, and that is a way to answer.
In that way, as you say, you have to read very less.
Huh? What is that?
You often say that if in that way, you have to read very less.
Exactly. Read little, interrelate. That is why this is a chapter that has to be done in the end and not in the beginning, because we are using all this. Interpretative understanding, exploratory. Okay. I'll take classes exclusively for Socio and Anthro, 2 exclusive classes, I mean 1 each. Okay, take this question. This is, why is research technology? Same thing, analyze the limitations of quantitative methods in social research. Quantitative and qualitative approach. Okay. For example, why do you write, how do you write something like this? Why is random sampling said to have more reliability and validity in research? Question like this. Take this question. Why is random sampling? I want you to know how you answer questions like this. Why is random sampling said to have more reliability and validity in research? Why is random sampling said to have more reliability and validity in research? Okay. Okay. So this is a question on sampling. Okay, work out an outline. Again here, try for a comprehensive answer and see how you define random sampling. And then see reliability and validity concepts. First of all, tell me reliability and validity, and then various sampling strategies. What is this random sampling? Sweta, you want to answer?
Yes, sir.
Please. Can you tell me what is sampling first? Familiar with these words? Sampling. Tell me the difference between population and framework.
The population, in population, we cover a whole group. And in sample, we want to study a part of the population.
Okay. Population is the total group under study.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Suppose you want to study drug addiction. What will be the population?
The youth.
Okay. You want to study drug addiction in the youth.
Youth, yes, sir.
Then the youth is the population. But otherwise, you want to study why addicts become addicts, and you want to study addicts only. Then addicts are the populations. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Population is a survey research refers to the total group under study, and a sample refers to part of the population one wants to study.
Yes, sir.
So population is not population in general. So that is about population. Okay. And sampling frame refers to an accurate list of the units of the total population under study. It's about where you get. Okay. Sampling error. Okay. So now tell me. So why is random sampling said to have more reliability and validity in research? So which example will you take? Will you take up any example to explain the sampling, or will you generally write?
So would take an example.
Take an example. Okay. Which example will you take up?
So study, study about the poverty in a village.
Poverty in a village. Okay.
So if we take the random sampling, there would be less bias.
Okay. But to study poverty in a village
or in a town, like anywhere.
Small.
Yeah.
Isn't it too small? Because you can. So which will be good example of sampling?
Number of girls.
Education.
Yeah, education, I was saying.
You want to say?
So the number of girls in the school, like we can take a whole city or a state as a sample.
Okay. In a school.
Or like colleges, higher secondary, like whatever.
Okay. Various colleges. Okay, fine. Various colleges. Okay. So you can choose the theme that you want to study. You can choose what do you want to study? You can study any attitude. Attitude towards movies or okay, okay. Where do they get values from? Where do they get the values from? A study of intermediate students in Andhra Pradesh. How is that research? When I asked one person, where do you get the values? I mean, an intermediate student, he said, I get from movies. I'm surprised. What is it that he may be getting from movies? So what is it that he is trying to learn? More importantly, what are the values he is picking up? Isn't it? So if you want to study value sources of intermediate students in Andhra Pradesh, okay. So Sweta, what will be the sample then?
So can you please repeat?
Sources of values to intermediate students in Andhra Pradesh. What is the population here?
Students?
Students of what? Intermediate means 11th and 12th.
Yes, sir. Like 11th and 12th students.
So 11th and 12th, and then in Andhra Pradesh.
In Andhra Pradesh, yes.
Colleges. Okay. So that's
Yes.
the population is that. Okay. What is the sample frame? Sampling frame? List of students across the colleges, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Then how do you choose the sample? What will be the variables that you will choose? What kind of variables will you give importance to in choosing a sample?
So to randomize it, we can take caste dimensions or like class dimensions.
What is that?
To randomize the sample in the school, we can take caste dimensions, class dimensions, rural versus urban.
Sweta, what variables will you take?
For random sampling,
I mean, how do you classify students to get this survey done, to get this theme?
on the basis of values,
No,
different values.
no. First, how do you get the sample of the students? Don't you think in the you should get the sample population, right?
Yes, sir.
To get the sample population, what is sample population? You should finally get the students.
Yes, sir.
So how do you get the students?
Approaching schools and colleges.
Exactly. You approach the colleges, that is 11th and 12th.
Yes, sir.
Then they will give you the register of the students. That is what is called sampling frame.
Yes, sir.
So you have names and addresses. And next, what do you do?
Survey.
Exactly. But what do you do? How do you survey? You mean you ask a question to every student?
Can have a piece like can have a paper in which MCQs are there and can distribute to the population or the sample.
You mean how do you choose the sample? That is a question, right?
Yes, sir.
You have lakhs of intermediate students in Andhra Pradesh, thousands of colleges. So Nikhil, tell me, how do you choose the sample? Which means what variables will you give importance to?
So, sir, because like now we are covering a large number of schools in Andhra Pradesh. So, first variations I will take in the types of school, like low income private school versus high income private school, government school, public school, department. So that
Government schools and private schools is one.
Yeah. And then within that, I will take various dimensions such as people coming from high income families, low income families, maybe two variations, or upper caste students versus lower caste students.
First you choose the schools?
Yeah.
To
First,
choose
we
schools
choose
is
the
one.
school,
Uh,
and then within the school, we will choose the economic status. How economic
to choose the economy of the student. Okay, next.
I will take one more dimension of gender also. Like
Gender, boy, girl. Okay, next.
um, caste dimension can also be taken if
Caste. Okay,
how
next.
they are affecting the values.
Next. How about rural, urban?
Yes, sir, rural urban also.
Rural, urban.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So caste, class, gender, rural and urban. Public and private. That is government and private. Okay.
And a set of students from all these groups can
Okay.
be taken to collect the sample.
And then which method will you use? Questionnaire.
Question.
Questionnaire is a better method.
Yes,
Okay. And then you analyze.
yes. Distribute, like she said, distribute the
Sample,
questionnaires.
that is the sample population. Okay. Do you think there should be any other variable?
I think education levels of the parents may also play a role since we're
Education
dealing.
level of the parents. Yes. Education level of the parents. That is one.
Comprehensive is family background.
What is it?
Comprehensively family background.
Okay. You mean
Not just education levels, everything.
education? I mean, there has to be something specific, right? Yeah. He's saying income and education level.
Yes, sir.
Include income also.
Family.
Cost is already included. So family caste is covered, family class is covered, education of family is covered. Okay. So that is how you get, okay. Suppose more colleges in Andhra Pradesh are in towns. So in a sample, more students will come from towns, isn't it? So that is what is meant by sampling. If more colleges are in the villages, then more students will come from the villages. That's how you get the sample population and you get the right kind of questions. Okay.
So
And
when
anyway, how do you, I mean, is it only one question? That is, where do you get your values from? But then how do you, Deepika, you are trying to ask something?
through all these means like income levels, gender, class, caste, we are trying to stratify the population. So,
Yes.
which one amongst these do you know is the most important when we are trying to do the stratification? There are many ways to stratify and then choose.
That is true. That is the problem. How do we know which is more important variable? For all you know, how close their homes are to the movie theaters may be an important value, isn't it?
And what
That
if
is
the home encourages what?
different from questionnaire method. That is why hypothesis may become more important. We have an idea of how those values are coming. For example, if somebody said movies, then okay, maybe books. So that is why from questionnaire you can't get the truth. It's you have some idea. From the idea you devise a questionnaire. From the idea only you get the sample. Isn't it? Which means you have a hypothesis to begin with. Without a hypothesis, survey is not possible. It's also a hypothesis, right? Use it as a hypothesis. Hypothesis is used in survey method. Which variable? For example, will you ask body weight in this in this survey? You find it is irrelevant, isn't it? So in this, you need to know in advance what is the likely impact, how students may have been influenced. That is a problem. That is a problem why opinion polls and exit polls can go wrong. First of all, what questions will you ask and how do you take the sample? What are the variables? Because it is the relevance of the variables that determine whether the sample is right or wrong. How about religion now? We didn't consider religion. Religion also can be an important value, isn't it?
Sir, for So example like religion or proximity of the theater. Can we not put them in the questionnaire as well to test the hypothesis, as in not just taking them as a variable?
Which means exactly hypothesis. That is about hypothesis. We don't know. When we don't know, we put it as a question. But it should be a hypothesis for that to be in the questionnaire, right? So which means we are not learning everything from the survey. We already have a prior knowledge, and that prior knowledge can be wrong. It means there is no 100% accurate way of getting the sample. Because how do you know the variables? It is not the issue of mathematics. It is the issue of your understanding of what are the variables. Okay. In an opinion poll and exit poll, beneficiaries of welfare scheme may make all the difference. It is not about caste, class, or anything. It is about beneficiary. So this is how sampling can go wrong. So, but random sampling means here again, random sampling, we are defining it in a more broader way. Random sampling means selecting some people representatively. Okay. Otherwise, a 10 marks question is not possible. If you are just saying random sampling is simply taking people 1 in every 10, not like that. Don't think examiner knows things accurately. That is number one. He just said random sampling. He knows, okay, something, something not predetermined, nothing more than that. He didn't know that methodology can be unscientific. So you explain this need not be. So you redefine random sampling. Random sampling mechanically is this, but sampling methods. So examiner says something, but try to give broader meaning and explain everything. Same thing in the interview, same thing in the mails. So don't attribute extremely narrow meaning and then find fault or write a very narrow answer. Just widen it. If you are defining exactly like random sampling, the question is meaningless. There is nothing much. Okay. So take that as a question on sampling and how sampling is done. And then again link it to the theory, the questions, the variables. Write like an essay on theory and methods. That's how you write a good answer. Is it clear? So through examples, through theory, and then of course you write diagrams, sampling, try to find out the difference between quota sampling, and then various kinds of sampling, representative, purposive, snowball. But here this is about random sampling. Okay, so please memorize all these methods. So life history, content analysis, oral history, genealogy, and that's all. Then memorize the definitions, please. Memorize the definitions. It's very important.
Sir, I have this doubt on memorizing these definitions. So when you say we have to reproduce word to word or the essence of it, sir?
That is easier because if you are writing your own, you may commit mistake and it takes more time.
Sir, word to word as in the adjectives and adverbs, everything.
If it is too big, then you need not. But which definition you don't want to memorize?
Sir, yesterday I was reading this indigenous tribe definition by the commission you quoted. In the article you gave.
All the core words you need to memorize.
No, core words is fine, sir. But
that is a big definition. That is a big definition. So you memorize the core words. It's
core words and
yes, it's very important. Very important to. I think the definition has all the. I mean, if you want to memorize all the core words, I think that is as good as memorizing the whole definition.
Yes, sir. Core words is the pre-invasion and pre-colonialism,
Yes,
the
core
threat, all that is there. But how to link? If I link it in my own way, it is easy for me.
Then
If I have to pick
as
like
long
that, it
as
is.
you don't miss the essence. People who define on their own may miss the essence. That is the problem. So people write loosely on marriage, loosely on family, loosely on incest. That's wrong. Either you memorize or understand it accurately and write in your own words. You can do either. You can do either. That's fine. Either
We
you
should
memorize or
memorize now.
understand
We should.
accurately. You need to know what precisely is the core component of the definition. Okay. Nikhil?
Sir, we should memorize like right now at this point, or we should keep it after prelims, like the memory part, because we will forget.
That is a good, very, very good question. Make a note. Make a note. Now memorize before unit test, and you have notes, and memorize again before any comprehensive test, and then it's like that. You make a brief note. It is always about having access to things. Okay, you have a summary, you make a small notes, and you read that small notes. Before the examination, you just need to have only few pages. It is not that it is not you need not have everything on your fingertips. It is not that necessary. You don't have enough number of fingers for that matter. So you you just have access. You know how to revise it fast. That's the issue. You know how to revise it fast. Focus on understanding, note making, and leave it.
Sir, even the books you quote also sometimes they're very suppose you have given some studies on Birhors.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
sir,
I gave many, but you can remember at least 2, 3 because
sir, that alone will take 20 to 30 words if we
that's
write. Just the author and
that is true.
just
Sometimes
the author and
you may
study.
mention only an author. You can, but remember we are finally linking many, and so memorizing only few, because I don't think you are going to write the examination without writing anything on Biror. It's impossible. So like that.
Sir, religion definition, sir, one of I heard that you have to quote.
Is important. Supernatural is important.
Yes, sir. But what I want to say is, this they tell that you have to quote anthropologist who gave. So the definition you have given is ember and embers.
That's true.
So we should define ember and ember.
Sometimes ember and ember gave somebody's definition. For example, Hobel's definition, ember and ember gave. So then go by Hobel's definition. It is like that. For example, most of it is taken from ember and ember only. But how come there are so many others? Because ember and ember gave those others. Okay. Fine. On Monday, we will have class on